Now, the United Nations, along with international affiliates, recently undertook a visit to the flood-stricken KwaZulu-Natal in an effort to gain first-hand knowledge of the level of destruction. It has since set aside over $1 million, or about 21 million rands, to help with relief efforts, while also lending technical skills to help with the province's recovery plans. Joining us now for their insights is Lily Sanya, who's the head of International Organization for Migration in South Africa. Lily, good evening, and thank you very much for your time and joining us tonight here on In Focus. What should be the immediate priority as this humanitarian relief fund is handed over to the KwaZulu-Natal province, in your view?
Thank you very much, and good evening, viewers, for providing an opportunity for the UN just to give an update in terms of how we wish to support the government of South Africa. Now, the UN has had a technical team on the ground in KwaZulu-Natal, working very closely with the provincial government to try and get an understanding of the gaps in the province. And during that process, we have identified some gaps in areas around social development, in the health sector, education, agriculture, disaster risk management and coordination, and small business support. So those are the key areas that we see that the UN can provide support. As you may know, the UN has 17 UN agencies in South Africa with varied technical expertise that we will work together jointly with the provincial structures to try and support the most hard-hit areas.
How do you imagine the Social Development Department, for example, can be supported here? In my conversation with them last week, they said their biggest area of need, or the gap that they are currently dealing with, is a lack of social workers. They've got a number of vacancies in the hundreds, and therefore they can't reach all areas, and they would have loved government to give them a little bit of support to be able to employ more social workers to assist heavy-stricken areas.
Thank you very much for that question. And one of the areas that the UN would support is through technical support. And obviously, we do agree with you that the area of psychosocial support and counseling is very, very, very crucial. And of course, the UN then will come in and work closely with the Department of Social Development. Actually, we are already working very closely with the Department of Social Development in that regard.
Yeah. What sort of programs then would directly be implemented, particularly for small business support? Or how will the small businesses be able to access that support?
Again, as I mentioned, we have different UN agencies, and the UNDP, so the United Nations Development Program, is working closely by providing technical support in programs that have, businesses that have been impacted during this time, trying to enhance their capacity in those programs.
Is there criteria in terms of size, in terms of the nature of business that they're involved in, that you would particularly be looking at?
So again, as I've indicated, one of the ways we are trying to do is to ensure that we are working in tandem with the departments or the specific government departments that deal with that particular area. So in terms of the identification, we would then work with the department to do that. Of course, one of the other ways that we've been working in the province is really trying to align to the different, the district development model that the provincial has been using to ensure that the work that we do is coherent with the government plans. So the district development model, in particular, would be one of our entry areas that we would use for supporting the businesses. So working in the community, working up to the local area with the councillors and the people who work in the communities with the people who know the people best, and who would also be able to assist in that identification.
Now, in addition, you're saying that the UN is also going to participate in the provincial disaster risk coordination structures to integrate UN programs into these existing sectors. So what are plans as far as that is concerned, and what will be the degree and level of your participation in that provincial disaster risk coordination structure?
The way we want to do it, because we don't want to create parallel structures, we would work by being integrated. So what we wish to do is to be integrated and work within those structures that already exist. And then there we would be able to come in with the technical support, bringing in the expertise in the areas that we see the gaps are.
Yeah. What are those technical skills? I mean, what would you be bringing that is already missing in the sector based on your assessment on the ground?
So for instance, one of the areas that we think we can really support is the aspect of coordination. Because as you know, when we have emergencies, we have many stakeholders that come in to support, and the area of coordination then becomes very key, because it's important to ensure that all the people who've been impacted, particularly the most vulnerable, are not being left out. So providing supporting them to be able to track, track the people that need help, and then ensuring that the help reaches to them. That is an area that we see we can bring in some level of technical support.
Yeah. Is it only South African-based agencies that will participate?
Not really. As you know, this disaster that we've had in KwaZulu-Natal is a climate-induced disaster. And so we will also reach out on our assets beyond South Africa. So for instance, UN Habitat is not a resident agency here, but it's an agency that will be important. We've been talking about, we are not only talking about the immediate humanitarian needs, but you remember we are also talking about infrastructure that has been destroyed. We are talking about planning, building back better. So we will also reach out to our assets or the UN expertise that is not necessarily in the country, but it will also support us here and support obviously the government of South Africa to respond.
Yeah. how are you going to ensure that every cent that you will be able to collect actually gets to do the recovery efforts that it is intended to do?
What we are also ensuring again is we are working very closely in the structures, and obviously we will also strengthen the area around monitoring and tracking. Monitoring and tracking how the support is used. That is also an area that we will work closely with the government to ensure that we do that. So again, strengthening the capacity where we see the gaps are. And from a very practical perspective, what we would wish to do, we already have some of our UN staff on the ground in KZN who will also work very closely with the government departments in that area.
Sanya, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for coming on tonight on In Focus, head of the International Organization for Migration.